So my guest today is Dr. Liat Yakir. Hi.
Hi, Christina. Hi, good to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope I pronounce your name properly, Liat Yakir.
Yes.
And Liat is, well, obviously with a very extensive academic background, you can tell that from the doctor. She is a specialist in biology, especially the genetics, has been, as far as I know, an expert on national television in Israel, a show called Marriage at First Sight. Right? And Liat is also obviously a speaker and an author of the book, which I really enjoyed reading, A Brief History of Love. And as Liat is specializing in, in the not just biology, genetics, and also understanding the origin of human emotion and how our evolution has influenced the way we feel. Did I say it right, or did I miss something?
Right, correct. It's exactly.
Thank you so much. So I guess I will ask my favorite, warm-up question is, with your intensive work and research, why did you decide to write a book? Because your book is not, while it is obviously based in a lot of academic research, but it is written for a regular human being in an understandable language. So why did you decide to write a book about such a topic? And why did you start researching such a topic? Love is a scary thing to research in a way, because it has such a huge emotional baggage and maybe even taboos and quite maybe even quite dramatic polarization between the people, the old school people who believe in love forever, and maybe if I can say so, the new school people. So why such a research? Why the book? Okay, that was 5 questions in one.
No, that's great. So it's important to say that I'm a biologist. So basic biology, basic research was my my studies, and my research was in genetics and molecular genetics and hormone research. So I didn't exactly research love. Did the investigation, because there is no science of love, like faculty of love. So during my work as a science educator, after the research scientific period, I had also struggles with my love life. I divorced twice, and I had long-term relationships that end usually in the same way. And then I saw people around me getting divorced from the same reason, the dwindling of passion, the loss of love, cheating, and other phenomenon, which are very universal. And I decided to go in depth of this phenomenon of love. And I have this scientific background, and I have these scientific tools, of thinking. So I gathered a lot of research that was done, from animals and humans. We are not the only creatures that fall in love and enjoy love, or getting hurt by love. It's not only us, but all mammalians and also birds and reptiles in other way. But anyway, I did, a journey for the wiring of love, the genes, the hormones, the neurons that creates this emotion. And I think that understanding the biology can make us, all this insight and all this understanding of biology can make us have better relationships. Because when we understand the hormones and what happens to us in our body and in our brain scientifically, from the hormone perspective, the chemistry, without, accepting it, without trying to fight it or to be dismissive, so we can have a much better love life when we understand our brain and our bodies and the way the operating system works. This is what my thinking.
Thank you for that. And actually, for people who are thinking about reading the book, I have to confess that I might be a little bit biased, but because I absolutely love books like that. I love the books which have a very curious, I would say, clinical approach to a phenomenon, because the way, as I was reading the book, I was getting more confirmation that Liat is looking at love from a very, well, biological point of view. That's probably the correct word. And I absolutely love the comparison to animals, because I know we're human, and we do have a huge prefrontal cortex, which actually makes us quite different from animals. But it is fascinating to see how we are actually not that different from a lot of others creatures on Earth. So what I guess I'm going to ask the question that you do mention in the very end of your book. Doesn't this understanding of biology, how we're actually driven by chemistry, by genes, by something which has millions of years in development, doesn't that sometimes well, scare away, because it almost feels like, so what power do I have over this? And maybe as also, I like rants, I'm sorry, but I'll give you a little bit also the backstory why I'm asking that. I'm also a divorced woman, but I must say, ironically, while I was married, I wasn't sure if one love exists. But after I divorced, I suddenly started believing in the possibility of loving all your life someone, so, which is a little bit, maybe ironical. So isn't there a little fear, if you look at love from such a biological point of view, that do we even have control over what's happening to us? Or is it just this ocean which swallow us and there's no hope?
What I think is that we have this operating system, and we can, do the trial and error, and go around, be attracted to someone, then go through the infatuation stage, and then sometimes it dwindle and we don't understand why, and something, and then you have a lot of heartache, and you feel frustrated, and you feel confused, and you sometimes even think that maybe love does not exist, and there is no long-term relationship. But when you start to understand the operating system that we got this body, we got this brain, so we have to do whatever we can with the operating system that we have. Once you understand it, I think it can enhance this emotion of love, because we feel this emotion, and it's something very spiritual. Yes, spiritual. It cannot be really reduced to molecules only and hormones only. When you feel this emotion to your children, to a friend, and of course to a lover, you want this bonding to last, and you want this feeling to last. So I think that here biology doesn't screw it up or harm the feeling, but from my point of view, it can only enhance. Once you understand what will happen to you eventually, because it's universal. This hormonal stages that we go through in love is universal, not only for us humans, but also for other mammalians. So we have this 3 stages of love. You know that the word love comes from Sanskrit, lubaya, which is to go crazy, and to be crazy in love, So in our culture, we gave a name only for the short and elusive stage of love, which is the infatuation, the falling in love, the butterflies in your belly. And in fact, we have 3 stages for love: the attraction stage, and then the infatuation stage, if it lasts, and then the long-term relationship, which is boring sometimes, and you don't have these butterflies anymore, because in each stage, we have different chemicals that rush through our body and our head. And in the beginning, it's testosterone and estrogen. In same-sex love, or in a regular female-male love, it's always a play between testosterone and estrogen. You find someone, and he looks, handsome, smart, have self-confidence, and you want to be with this person. So this is the attraction stage. And then if everything goes well and you really feel you want to know this person, because it can end in this stage, just to have sex together. You don't need love for sex. Sex is, we have it, it's the evolutionary force is mating. So you can mate with someone without loving him, right? But if you feel, this attraction and you want to stay with the person, then you will start to feel the other hormones, the dopamine, adrenaline, serotonin. The butterflies in the belly is the serotonin, it's the happiness hormone. Oxytocin is the love hormone, and the adrenaline also, which makes us feel very very enthusiastic and very activate. These hormones are secreted during orgasm, during sexual intercourse. So usually the couple will fall in love after having sessions of orgasms together. So in the orgasm, you have a conditioning in the brain between the love hormone and the reward hormone, the pleasure hormone, the dopamine. So this person makes me feel good. I want more of this drug. And these are potent drugs. In the world of the drugs, dopamine is cocaine, and the serotonin is Cipralex or Prozac, the anti-anxiety drugs, and also oxytocin is MDMA. Anyone who took MDMA, this feeling. So these are very potent drugs, and it makes our head spiral, and suddenly you feel euphoric. You want to be with the person all the time. So basically falling in love, infatuation is basically addiction. You are becoming addicted to love, becoming addicted to these drugs. So this place of hormones, it really rushes our head and changes how we look at the person. At first, he looks or she looks ideal, everything we wanted. We see only the good things. We don't see the true colors of the person. Even when we see, our eyes see, but our brain don't want to see, because we have this ideal feeling and also a vision of what love should be. And we put it on this person because he gives us so much pleasure. But the problem is these hormones, like every drug, there is a mechanism of tolerance. Once you get more and more from the familiar stimuli, the same kiss, the same touch, the same sexual feeling, less dopamine is secreted in the brain. So we get bored, or we get used to the same person. It's called the Coolidge effect. It's a wiring in our brain that makes us watch porn and cheat on each other, or fantasize about another person or other person. And it's basically a wiring of our brain that is evolved in all the, most of the mammalian creatures, which makes us diversify our genes. Because after 1 year, basically the infatuation stage lasts between 6 hours to 2 years. For most people, it's 1 year that you feel all this great, this great pleasure. And afterwards, you start to see the person in its true colors. And suddenly you see things that you didn't want to see in the beginning, and it's not exactly what you wanted. And so you want to start sometimes to change the person in order to be more more like me. Why can't he be more like me? So we get these power struggles and conflicts and fights, and then sometimes the attractions dwindled. So we have this wiring that makes us maybe diversify our genes and find someone else. So it can be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And sometimes for some people, they are still fall in love for the rest of their life, but they are very few.
So so if you guys are interested in the book, as I said, Liat explains pretty much the whole cycle from the start, and how different things influence us in the relationship, including how our chemistry changes when we have children, for example, all the way into heartbreak and how to survive heartbreak, including some practical advice as well. So if you're interested in this biological look, I'm recommending the book. It's The Brief History of Love. I honestly, for me, it's literally like a laboratory and this huge microscope, and you're just looking into it, which is so exciting and interesting. And I would say, I'll add to that, I found the description of how we react to sex and orgasm so fascinating, how the different the hormones happen in these acts and how they influence us. So literally, it's very, very interesting and gripping, what I want to understand is that on one side, it makes me feel better about certain bad behaviors because I can see, yeah, you're just behaving like this because that's how we've been wired, and the nature wants us to let our genes go on. I get it, but where and by no means does the book condone anything like that, but so what do we do with this information, knowing that this is natural to us? Where do we make this choice between, but this is my inclination versus, ultimately, we do not want to age alone. And, if we follow just our inclination and what biology intended us to do, so I do not know where we'll end up like this. So where do you make this choice, and how do you make this choice?
So really, I feel we humans have free choice compared to other mammalians that doesn't necessarily understand and cannot choose what happened to them. We understand. We have this huge prefrontal cortex, which can make us learn and understand what happened to us. And if we basically understand that it's all about hormonal balance, you want more of the love hormone and less of the stress and anxiety and the fighting hormones. So if we understand that, it will dwindle, it will decline during time. So we have to do a lot of things in order to keep the dopamine up, to keep the testosterone up, especially when children are coming into the family, and they have their own hormones. But first is the acceptance, because sometimes we feel that if we don't have this butterfly anymore, so the person is not right for me. Okay, so there is no love. If there is no butterfly when I see him for the 1,000 times come home after work, so it means that we don't love each other anymore. And it's not true. The butterflies will fly anyway to anyone. We cannot run from it. We can do something. I have all these tools in the book, how to save the passion, how to keep the passion on. But we understand that with all our juggling and the touch and the kiss and the body of another person will rise the dopamine like our partner for 20 years cannot do. And it's not because of him or her, it's just because of the biology. So we get this acceptance, and we don't have the blame and the frustration, and maybe it's not good for me, because we are in this transformation to the stage of the long-term boring long-term relationship, with the essence of it is the oxytocin, the trust, the security, the stable, that you can trust each other, and you have this friendship, and if we want to keep the passion, so we need to do some things that will elevate our dopamine and testosterone. Some of them can be, like fantasies. We don't need to be ashamed of our fantasies, and other things we can do. In the Jewish tradition, we have the nida. For 12 days, the couples will not touch each other, and they cannot have sex during the menstruation the period time. So this does a reset to the brain. And even when you took two mice and do this separation, after 1 week they will recognize each other as new. So we need to be together, but also alone, not lonely, with other person, with other people. Do things separately, because sometimes as a couple in the beginning of the relationship, we want to be all the time together. We have this withdrawal effect when we are not with each other. And this is not good for the long-term relationship. In the long-term relationship, a person needs to be full of oxytocin from other people, not necessarily sex with other people. But I have friends, and I have activities, and I have a world that is separate from my partner. And we have also our, because when we see the partner, sometimes as a little stranger or mysterious, or there are things that I don't know about him. Because we women, usually more than men, tend to have this desire for control, you know, to be safe, to feel that we are safe. And so in order to feel safe and control and to be in control, I want to do everything that my partner does, where he goes, what friends he have, and sometimes you are not allowed to go with this person or with that person because I feel, you know, jealousy or pain or frustration. And then we kill the passion, because when we control somebody, when he becoming very predictable, I know what he will say, I know what he will do, I can control every behavior of his, so he becomes familiar, too familiar, like a brother or like a child. Many times it's like the woman treats her man like a child. Yes, it happens also. And you don't have sexual desire for your children, so we kill the passion when we try to control everything, men and women together. So give this space to one another, even for sometimes, you know, not to break up, but to have these breaks inside the marriage, that that it's not all about who bring the kids home and where we're going to eat, that the person is still mysterious, is still have free choice, because in the beginning of the relationship we have a lot of adrenaline and cortisol and testosterone, because the person is not predictable. We don't know if he wants me, he doesn't want me, where he going now, I don't know his friends, maybe he have you know, a girlfriend that I don't know about, and all this insecurity brings a lot of testosterone that makes me want him, to desire what I don't have. Yes, once I have it, the desire declines. So we really need to keep this game. It's a game, but it's a game of of hormones, and we want to keep them up.
Thank you for this answer. I do have another one in my mind, but there is an answer. There are questions coming from the audience, and I do want to encourage you guys who are online. You have a chance to ask your questions. I'm going to ask it in a while, but because we were talking on this topic, I have to ask one of my questions first. In fact, I'm sorry if I'm not reminding you to ask questions. I just have a lot of my own. So Liat, you do touch upon some very sensitive topics in your book. For example, are we really monogamous? Are we meant for fidelity? And also you venture to look into the future. And well, I've been in personal growth for 20 years, and I know that this conversation about the future of relationships is not a simple one. So what's up with us? Are we meant for fidelity, and what's going to be with the relationships, considering how long we are living?
Yes. It's a hard question. Biologically, scientifically, by the biological criteria, we are not monogamous. Okay, we are not monogamous. We are not monogamous creature. We have this Coolidge effect, these effects that the dopamine is high when it's new, and the dopamine is down when it's familiar. The novelty-seeking hormone. We have this wiring. We have a large testicles. Our men have compared to other animals, large testicle and penis. So this usually means of a sperm competition. The female wants the best of the male, so they compete each other. It's not one female, one male. In all the monogamous creatures, they are small. All the genitalia is very small. We don't have this. We are, and we don't follow the criteria. Usually, also in monogamous creatures, the female and the male are the same size. They look almost identical. In humans, it's not. The female looks very different from the male. The male usually are 50%, 15% larger in their body mass, much like apes. We resemble more the apes, and the apes are polygamous. So from biological criteria, we answer the criteria of a polygamous creature. The competition between the males and the female wants the best, the alpha. And also in Tinder, there are research in Tinder that probably I don't remember exactly the number, 10 to 20% of the men gets 80% of the approach from females, from women. So women wants the alpha, the most beautiful, the most successful men, and it's also a criteria for the polygamy. So if we understand that biologically we are not wired for monogamy, but still monogamy is very beneficial for human beings and for their children, for the family, because you have this secure bonding. I don't want to say lifelong. It doesn't have to be lifelong, of course, but long-term relationships gives us a lot of benefit because we are not only driven by the sex desire, the desire for sex. It's not the only benefit that we need as human beings. We need the friendship, we need the emotional support, we need a long-term relationship that someone knows us, knows me, the real me. Because at the beginning, you want to show a persona that is not exactly you. And when a person knows you after a while, after years, it gives us, it's like family, you know, we are family creature. We like to live in family. In family, people know each other for a long time. So monogamy gives us a lot of benefits. And that's why I think that we are in a generation that breaks the rules, and the monogamy of the older generations, the practice that the Romans basically spread in the world. The monogamy was spread by the practice of monogamy was spread by the Romans, because all our area, especially the Middle East and Africa, is all polygamist, was all polygamist. And Romans brought this practice by the church and the religion. And I think the practice of monogamy of the old school, it was based on, you know, the man is the owner of the house and the women is like, you know, he's the, you know, the famulus is from the Roman, the Latin for slaves. Yes, like familia, the familia of the man. The man is, and we are not in this game anymore. You know, men and women are equal. So we build. I feel that in the future, women especially will build a new kind of monogamy. You know, that is not based on this power struggles between men and women, but monogamy that it will be more equal. And you have your own, of course, your own rights, and you expect more equal relationship, and like a new kind of monogamy. Yes, not the one that we saw in our parents, like a new kind of monogamy. And we are still not sure what kind of monogamy it will be, if it will be for long, you know, for the whole life, or it will be serial monogamy, you know, one at a time. And we are still, checking, you know, doing this trial of error. And we have free choice. This is the first generation that now is born that have full free choice to really to decide the gender, and to decide what to the you know, sexual relationship and emotional relationship, and if he wants to be in monogamy or polyamory. We have all the practices. We have a menu now that each person that is born now, each human being that is born now can choose his own way of life. I think it's beautiful. But I think at the end, we will come to another kind of monogamy, because we see that also people that have many relationships, or basically more sexual relationships, short-term sexual relationships, are not happier. And people who have long-term relationship are more satisfied with their lives, because we need this friendship. We need someone that really knows us, someone that really support us in the stress of life. But we will find our way, you know, because the marriage was also economic unit. Yes, a man and wife that have the salary, and the salary is like an economic unit. The economy is not anymore will decide how will people love and how will people make connections. So it's very interesting.
Sakshi, I'll get to your question, but this is such an interesting conversation, and I know you do devote a lot of your book to the topics which are not maybe very conservative, if I could say so. What I want to ask is, I have had a few conversations with people who are huge proponents of polygamy, and I think the central question in that form of relationship would be jealousy. And I know you touch upon jealousy, and the argument that I've heard is that, you know, you don't have to feel jealousy, which is probably a little bit outlandish desire that you can, you know, set someone important to you free and not feel anything when they fall in love with someone else. But could you talk about jealousy maybe a little bit from the biological point of view? Is this really the feeling which, you know, which is the enemy of the new type of relationship?
Yeah, I would say that so, because this jealousy, also polygamous creatures have jealousy. When you are with a person, you want oxytocin brings up this, you know, make this emotion. You feel it in your gut when you see your loved one with another person. You feel it in your gut, and basically, the jealousy and the way we jealous puts us in the area of the serial monogamist. So when one at a time, when we are with a person, we want this exclusivity. We want to be the only one. We want to be very desired, very wanted, and so I don't say that people cannot overcome jealousy. There are people that live in polyamory relationships, and they do this. You know, we have the prefrontal cortex. We feel the jealousy, but we can control it. Some people more, some people less. But also, as far as I saw in polyamoric research, which is not extensive yet, there is a lot of jealousy. There is a lot of jealousy because it's also wired. So while we are having these hormones of excitement and of this, even 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, we really want to control how much oxytocin, how much love hormone our partner makes with another. And I guess it's also an evolutionary mechanism, because if we share resources and if we have children together, I don't want him or her to bring children from another person, another genes to the pool, and I will have to raise children that are not mine, which is not in nature good for the genes, you know, to give resources for genes from another. So we want this to verify our parenthood, you know, to know that I'm the mother, he's the father. Usually men will be, in many countries, men are very jealous, you know, for the women, that she will not be pregnant from another man. Basically, this is the roots for this drive for dominance of the women in most part of the world. Most part of the world, we still have a lot of practices, you know, of domination of the women and suppression, especially for the sexuality of the women. Yes, so she cannot be with another person, so the father will not have to bring resources for other person genes. So jealousy is also explained by evolutionary perspective, and I think it's very individual. I'm, for example, a very jealous person. So that makes me a real serial monogamist. I cannot say that I genetics or sexual monogamy. Sexual monogamists stay together for the whole life. There are very few in nature. 12 out of 8 millions are true monogamists. So it's very, very rare. It's like a mutation. But the other monogamists, usually birds, that you know, they have to take care of the eggs. The father take care, and then the mother go to brings food, and then they switch. So we are, some of us like the birds, some of us like the other polygamist creatures, but I think we're still finding our way. And again, another thing is monogamy usually will evolve in a scarcity climate or scarcity environment, when there is not enough food and there are many predators and enemies. So monogamy is good for the children. Yes, so they have a father and a mother to take care of them. And we humans, most of the time, also especially in some areas, we live in scarcity. But now we have abundance of options, abundance of food, abundance of resources. So there is not a advantage to monogamy in this era.
We'll talk about abundance in a moment because I had promised to ask some questions from the audience. So the question came from Sakshi Sharma. Just like some character traits are passed down through genetics, does love also get passed down like that? If yes, then does our ancestry affect our perception of love and how we perceive love? Oh, thank you. That's such a beautiful question.
Yes. So we have the genetics. We know now some genes that are responsible, also for the oxytocin receptors and for testosterone and for the hormones and all the wiring and all the mechanisms of love is basically genetics. But it's very good questions because we also have culture and education, and we have our genetics, but we also have the powers of socialization. You live in a society. You live in a society that teach you, from the Disney movies, that love should look like this. You find the one, and you live happily ever after. And you see your parents also, maybe happily, maybe not happily, and maybe not ever after. But we learn a lot, not only from the genes, but also from the environment. And we are very social creatures, so we want to be part of the society. So if everyone gets married, I will get married also. And then we pass the genes, we pass the genes and we pass the culture, basically. We pass our genes, pass on our genes, and we pass on our culture and the education. And we have this, this diversity of heredity and environment.
Thank you for the question and for the answer. And coming back to diversity, one part of the book that I found very fascinating was in the very beginning when you were talking about how technology influences our love life, which comes from a lot of diversity and a lot of abundance of opportunities. Could you maybe tell to our readers who haven't read the book yet, so are these wonderful apps which are supposed to solve our problems of loneliness, are they actually helping us or making it harder?
Making it harder. Because the brain it has not evolved much in the last 10,000 years since we left the savannas, and the dating apps exploit the weaknesses of the human brains. One of the weaknesses is that we like choice, because usually in nature there is no choice of food and choice of mates, and you struggle. So our brain like choice, but it doesn't like to choose, because if I choose this partner, maybe I miss something, right? The FOMO and the excess of choice really cause us a cognitive overload, frustration, over criticism, despair. And on top of that, in the dating apps, you can be whatever you want. You can put the picture, which is not necessarily yourself. And so 85% of people in the apps are lying about age, lying about height, lying about social status, lying about and then after you date some people and you're starting to realize that you cannot trust what person say about himself, and you need to check. So you become very, very very suspicious, and even you don't want to go to the date, because you see some handsome guy in the picture, but you don't know what you will meet in the date. So it makes you very frustrated and maybe don't want to go to meet other people. So fear of dates, of this disappointment, because in our head we imagine things. In our imagination, we have this perfect match, the perfect guy, the perfect girl. And so the apps it usually brings a lot of negative interactions, negative experiences for most people. There is a research in Norway that shows that in order to have one date, you have to swipe in Tinder 35,000 profiles. It's a huge amount of profiles for one date, and it doesn't mean that it will end up with a relationship. So it becomes very frustrating, and it also reduced us to choose mate only from the physical appearance. Yes, because you have only the physical appearance, and in real life, the way that our brain choose mate is by feeling and sensations, right? You see a person, you look in his eyes. Okay, at first you see him in a party or in a gathering or in a friend's house. He looks handsome or not handsome, but okay, and you start to talk with the person. Suddenly he's funny, his eyes are very good, or you see something in his eyes, and you laugh together, and you talk about the music that you like, and he's very interested in your work, and he's very interested in you as a person, and something turned on. And if you saw him in the app, you will never swipe right. Yes, because our brain gives much more emphasis to this non-verbal cues from a person, the self-confidence, the trustfulness, the sense of humor, the magnetic power of people. It's not the physical appearance, it's self-confidence, is vitality. You see a person live with energy and very happy and funny and smart and empathic. He listens to you, and he looks you in the eyes when he listens to you. These are the real magnetic powers, and the way the brain select mate. And you don't have any of this in a dating app. You just have like an ape, the physical appearance, the height of the shoulders, the look of the face, and sometimes even the bank account, or the title, whatever the person does in his life. All the basic, very superficial evolutionary power, because we like to see nice people, beautiful people, handsome people.
I like how in the beginning of your book you explain why we like that. And guys, by the way, if you're interested in this topic, what I appreciate particularly is that in the book, Liat shows so precisely how our brain wasn't evolved for this type of communication. It's just so fascinating. Now, I want to encourage you to get the book, because it's really fascinating. I love how it explains also how we as humans work, and also even if you're not in search of partner, or it's not a big topic in your life agenda, it's just such a great insight into us humans and how we function, how our emotions function. I do think that maybe contemporary society doesn't, although we have all the information, we don't teach enough to our children. In fact, I was reading one part, I was thinking I have to read it to my children because it's just so good. Now,
Thank you.
guys, I have to confess that today I will be incredibly disciplined, and I've been looking at the clock because my son has a birthday today. He's turning 17. So, I came actually from London. I'm going back to London soon just for his birthday. So I will be disciplined. But I do have two last things, the traditional things. One is for those of you who are online, please leave a heart to my wonderful guests in the chat. Those who are going to be watching a recording, leave a heart in the comments below. Let's share love, especially that we're talking about love, by the way. Let's share love. And a question to Liat. So you wrote the book, congratulations. It's a great thing. I really think book is so special. How would you like your book to change the world?
Oh, this is my dream. Yes. When you read the first part, you can become very pessimistic. There is no love. Love is only, play of hormones and genes, and there is no hope for love. But my wish is that, the second part of the book will, spread around, and people will understand that this knowledge just can make us have more wonderful and connected and healthier relationships. From the stage of how you choose a partner. We have this desire for narcissist, this passion for narcissist. So to choose the right partner and form a healthy relationship from the beginning, and loving parents have loving children. The foundations for the children is the love between their parents. So it's very, very important. I think love is a resource us as humanity. And my wish is, to elevate oxytocin in the world, to understand this hormone, not only in the romantic love, in all of our relationship. We are social creatures, and there are too many lonely people in this world today. So this is my wish.
Thank you so much. And to that, I also want to add that, thank you for starting the conversation on this topic, because I've felt for years now that, yes, we have research, we talk about it, but not bravely enough, because the humanity is changing and we have to adjust to what's happening. So thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank you,
joining the
Christina.
conversation. I wish huge luck to your book. Guys, the best thing we can do to the author is get the book and read it. I'm planning to finish reading it because it's so interesting and it's my kind of book. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.
Thank you. Congratulations.